Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Video 44 coming at you with another video. Okay, so the first thing on the list to talk about is the Golden State Warriors. And the reason why I want to talk about the Golden State Warriors is because they picked up Bielitsa and they also picked up Otto Porter. So I think they got significantly better today shooting the basketball, just overall with their small forward position. They boosted themselves and made themselves a significantly better team. So what you're going to have there now is a little more insurance, just a slight more insurance for a guy like Klay Thompson to not be asked to come in and just be the same Klay Thompson necessarily. Rudy Gay can help with that. Bielitsa, even further behind him, can just help with that. They got guys like Jordan Poole, who's going to go in and have a bigger role this year, as well as other players on that team that I like a lot. Eric Paschall is a player that I still think has some pretty good upside out there. And they got some other players too. I'm sorry, his name escapes me, but homie that's related to Steph, who's married to Steph's sis, he also had a breakout on that team. I believe he's still with the team and very much has a role there. So what you're going to find with the Golden State Warriors, I think their fans are going to be pleasantly surprised to see how well their team looks in terms of depth because of the players that they've developed over the last 2 years while they've been waiting for guys to get healthy and trying to revamp their squad. The Jordan Pooles and the Purcells and all those guys are going to make for a hell of a bench. And I don't think you have a situation where those guys have taken such steps forward to where they're going to be so unhappy on the bench. I don't think that. I think what you have is guys that just got enough experience to be able to, when their name is called upon, come in and do some work. So I think the Golden State Warriors, especially playing in the play-in game, that gave some of those guys a little bit of play-off experience in that Laker game. I think that goes a long way. I really do. So I expect the Golden State Warriors to be a significantly better basketball team, obviously off the strength of Klay coming back, but most importantly because of the moves that they made and the steps forward that some of their players have taken. So I'm high on the Golden State Warriors this year. Another team I want to mention is the Utah Jazz. And the Utah Jazz boosted their small forward position by snatching a guy that the Lakers really wanted. The Laker fans for sure, Rudy Gay. He does go to the Utah Jazz. For me, with that Jazz decision, I thought it was okay. I think he's looking at the Laker landscape, probably saw an opportunity to make a couple extra bucks and still contend. I think the Jazz are a contender this year. It's not a secret that they were a very good team last year. I don't have any issue with what they did for their roster, bringing back Mike Conley and obviously bringing in Rudy Gay. Subtle moves, but I don't think they really needed to do a whole lot. They just needed to make sure that they brought everybody back and continue to run that same system that they ran last year. Because what ends up happening is it's one of two things. Either they've capped out and this is as good as they're going to get, or they get even better at what they were already good at, which is running that system that they had. And I do feel like they could surely use a Jaylen Brown type of player to help be a second player with athleticism and ability to run in the open court really well. For Donovan Mitchell, he's kind of by himself in that regard in some ways. It's not a whole lot of athleticism on that Jazz team, but they make up for it with sound defense, obviously, and a very, very, very potent offensive strategy that is perimeter-based and perimeter oriented. So I really like the Utah Jazz this year coming in. I think they're going to be a good team. Like I said, they could be capped out. This could be as good as it gets, unfortunately. But I think if they were to acquire the type of player I'm talking about, if they could find a way to get a Jalen Green type of guy, someone wiggly, a Brandon Ingram, DeMar DeRozan, that would be a fantastic player to just throw down there with Donovan Mitchell so he ain't the only one creating off the dribble, crossing people up, and dunking on people's heads. That's the dynamic they're missing. One more shot creator. So that's what I think. And of course, I want to talk about the Lakers. As always, you're not going to get too many videos out of me. I ain't talking about my squad. DeMar DeRozan's still interested in coming here, which is kind of it's a tricky situation because we don't really know what we can actually offer him. The mid-level exception seems like the most realistic thing he could receive. But the Lakers have their eye on Buddy Hield, and if we can trade for Dennis Schroeder, somehow, if he can find a suitor, we can somehow get that value, send it to Sac, and of course, bring back Buddy. So that's the primary goal. But DeMar DeRozan, a player who a lot of people believe is better than Buddy Hield, including myself, wants to be here for a significantly less amount, and that might make more sense given the fact that we have such a low salary cap budget at this point. Buddy Hield is going to be a very helpful piece, a young player that we need to shoot the ball, to put in some scores production, some starters production, and ultimately to be yet another guy who can hit an open shot and take pressure off of our superstars. But the thing about Buddy Hield is, when you pick up Buddy Hield, you want him to be able to take clutch shots. If I have Buddy Hield on my team, I want him to be a closer. Now, maybe I'm not viewing him properly. I don't know. I haven't watched enough of him to know who he's developed into at Sacramento. But the guy that I saw in college, I want the ball in his hands. And I want him to create for himself. I want him driving at the basket. I want him doing all those things that he used to be able to do. He looked like a mini James Harden when he was in college. So his skill set isn't just to shoot the rock. This is somebody who has a lot of different moves and things that he can work into his equation as he continues to develop. So my thing is, yeah, hell yeah, we need to do everything we can to get him. DeMar DeRozan he may be a better player today, but when you're talking about what you want to see happen after Westbrook and Bron retire, you want somebody who's going to be able to run with AD. Buddy's somebody who can run with AD in the future. And of course, you're going to need more than that. But I'm saying if Buddy continues to build, he turns into an all-star. Now you got 2 all-stars to work with when those guys leave. That's the best case scenario for Buddy, but I think it's realistic. I really do, based on his skill set, based on his fearlessness and his motor. He needs to become more consistent. But part of the problem was the fact that he had a funny role in Sacramento with a bunch of guards he had to deal with. So if you put him in a role where he's strictly supposed to be Buddy Hield, you're going to get the best out of him. I think we limit that role, unfortunately. I think we limit that role because I would like to see him in a situation like Orlando. Replace him with, or rather replace a guy like, who's a guy I'm thinking of? Terrence Ross. You take Terrence Ross and you trade him for Buddy Hield. In theory, that's a perfect role for Buddy Hield to go down there, be like the second or third scorer in an Orlando defensive team and just shoot the rock. And then when it comes down to the last second, he's one of the main options shooting. That's where you get the most out of a Buddy Hield. You put him in Dame situations and you let him develop that legendary clutch ability, which I think is just naturally in him. We don't have that ability for him necessarily, even though he may get a lucky open shot somewhere if we get double team craziness, but we're going to be looking for obviously AD, Bron, and Westbrook. And anytime those 3 players aren't one of them taking the last shot, we failed. That's how that's going to go. If Buddy's taking the shots that I want him to take, we've done something wrong. So that dynamic, in theory, could be us taking on the value of Buddy Hield not being able to get the most out of it. But when you're playing for a championship and you just need weapons, maybe that makes sense. So I don't have a problem with it. I'm happy with it. I just understand what we're doing there. And when we need a trade to get better, Buddy Hield's going to be one of them names we're looking to trade. And I hate that idea of that, but that's the dynamic because we don't have anybody else to trade. He immediately becomes Kyle Kuzma. If anything goes wrong, he's going to be the scapegoat. And I hope y'all are ready for that. I hope you're ready for that. The good thing about it is nothing's going to go wrong because we have so much talent and all we really need is shooting. And that's exactly what he is. And size, by all means. We need size and defense, and he's not a defender, which also concerns me because he's a below average defender in theory, from what I hear, rather. So Westbrook's not a good defender. Buddy's not a good defender. I would love for us to pick up Avery Bradley. That's what I'm saying to you guys. I don't think he's going to cost no more than mid-level exception, but I think he should be the next player that we pick up at that $2 million mark because we need the defense. And we know he's a hyper-defensive player who, when last in a Laker uniform, was one of the more steady players that we had in our whole lineup. And the only reason why he wasn't in the lineup in the playoffs is because he had to take care of his responsibilities to his family. And I respected that decision, and I thought it was the right one. But he has a chance to come back here, and we need him again. So if the Lakers are on top of their game, they ain't going to let Avery Bradley sign nowhere else, not given the circumstances of what our team is looking like. And by the way, if we were to get DeMar DeRozan, I don't look at him as no defender either. I don't. I do not. So that's going to be a thing. The Lakers are going to be good defensively because of AD, but the individual players that we have collectively, in theory, make for us to not be so great of a defensive team. Dwight Howard should help with that if he's ready to go. But I'm trying to temper expectations for the players that we've picked up that used to be here, because it's been a year. And when you're at those ages that some of these guys are, 1 year could be the difference between having it and not. So if Dwight Howard comes in and doesn't have anything, I will not be surprised. I'll be disappointed, but surprised I will not, because again, these guys have been in the league for a long time, and at some point they're going to fall off a cliff, and that's how it goes. It's not one of those situations where it's a gradual thing for some players. Some guys, you got it, and you don't. You just wake up and the dude cannot play no more. That's what I'm worried about Trevor Ariza. That's where my concern is for Trev. But I don't know that he has it anymore. I'll have to see it. But as far as I could tell, he's just an older guy that's really not going to be able to do some of the things that made him great back when he was with us in 2009, basically. So that's my concern, man. I'm not seeing enough athleticism necessarily, but I think DeRozan and Buddy Hield, one or the other, may be able to boost it at some, not defensively though. So yeah, man. Yeah, Lakers got some things they got to figure out with the money. That's why I'm like, I know we're hell bent on getting another shooter in Buddy Hield, but to be completely honest with you, I think we need to be. I know this is going to sound stupid, but I think what we need also is try to get them to give us Marvin Bagley. Now I know we can't afford Marvin Bagley, but I'm saying the type of skill set that he has is also what we need. We need Buddy Hield and we need Marvin Bagley, to be completely honest with you. So, and I'm not super high on Marvin Bagley. I'm not sitting up here saying that I want to pay Marvin Bagley or anything like that. I'm just saying he is exactly the type of defensive big with upside that the Lakers can put into this starting lineup and not have any fall off. You can be in a good space with him as your starter, have Dwight come off the bench for him, have AD play this. See, the thing about AD playing the center position is he doesn't want to bang, all right? Doesn't mean he doesn't. You just put him in center position situations where he's not banging with hardcore players. Dwight can do that, and in theory, the Bagley prototype can do that. You see what I'm saying? You need to find a Bagley type prototype, someone who can do the things that he does. Lengthy, 6'10", 6'11", 7'1" wingspan, ability to jump out the gym, competent from behind the arc, specialize in rebound and shot blocking. A Moses Brown type player. We need somebody like that, because right now it's just nowhere on the roster we're going to find that. And you got to be able to guard the Giannis's and the BIs, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's where I'm at. I'm paying attention to these things, man. Hopefully some news is taking place while I'm sitting here talking to you guys, and I can come right back and give it to you. But as of right now, I'm just going to check out and listen to this, see what's going on in this video, see if I like it. Thank you all for watching. My name is BDO44.